the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with the few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, everybody? Hey, guys, it's Monday again. It's February 7th. It is 2022. You're tuned into the Drive-In Speaker Box, and I'm your host, Bo, the Boom Operator.
And I am apparently the voice of reason returning.
Oh, what is this? The voice of reason, my keister meester. Yeah, Jake's back in the studio with us this week, and we've got a show for you tonight. So welcome back.
Sorry about my absence, everybody.
Sorry, I was in an accident. You never have to apologize.
Well, life has been weird lately. It has been very topsy-turvy and uncomfortable and not fun and painful. Yeah, so
it happens. Life finds a way, as Dr. Goldblum says. But we've got a show. Speaking of painful living, one of the movies we're going to be talking about later in the show is Jackass Forever, which we both caught in the theaters.
Watched it together.
Yeah, we got to get a front row, close and personal look at a lot of wieners, and we're going to be talking about those wieners later in the show. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the new Reacher show on Amazon Prime. We're going to be talking about stuff that's coming out in theaters. We're just going to be starting to talk about all kinds of stuff that we do here on the show. So thank you for tuning in. If you guys are just joining us for the first time, or maybe listening to the podcast on Spotify, what?
Sam said the show has been like Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man, without the Marlboro Man. Why am I the Marlboro Man? I did ride the Harley until a couple weeks ago when it pitched me off and the Harley decided to ride me. But I guess with the mustache and the motorcycle,
you got
I could be either one, really.
Yeah, you got the facial hair for it. But you know, we're gonna be what was that? Oh, shameless self-promotion time. Talking about liking and subscribing. If you're listening to this on the podcast version form over on Spotify or Tuned In or wherever you get your podcasts, don't forget you can check us out on the live stream, which is where all the comments are coming from, which you can be a part of the action here on the show. Just find us over on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. We do this live every Monday night at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, so join us, won't you? Okay, well, yeah.
Is this true in the comments that you taped a picture of me on a My Buddy doll?
God, I wish I had a My Buddy doll.
I do somewhere in storage. I have a My Buddy because when I was a kid, I had
wherever I go, he goes, my buddy.
I had a My Buddy, and my brother had my football monster. So
and try, what was it, Kid Sister, too. Like, was the Lean Pockets version of My Buddy. Yeah, Kid Sister. I don't think I remember the theme song to Kid Sister, but the things the brain retains. I wish I had a My Buddy doll or a Good Guys doll. That would have been fun. You know, Chucky, he was a Good Guys doll. Or what's the weird ventriloquist puppet?
Howdy Doody?
Well, yes, there's Howdy Doody.
I had a Mortimer Snurd.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, did you also have like the glowworm? Like nobody had Teddy Ruxpin, but you had the glowworm.
No, I had a Mortimer Snurd because I thought ventriloquism would be cool when I was a kid. Because when you're a kid in the 80s and 90s,
I did magic.
Like,
yeah, not the Gathering, but like, you know,
everyone tries to do magic when they're
got
a kid.
A coin.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my uncle was a magician. He owned a florist shop and had a magic shop inside of his florist shop, and he would sell magic tricks, like good ones, you know, not just, you know, foam balls and thumb tips, which of course he had, but yeah, he was the Great Lario, which was, in retrospect, not a very good name because his name was Larry. You'd think he would have maybe, you know, put a little bit more energy into that name. But, hey, whatever, dude. You know, throw an O at the end and it sounds like magic. But there we go.
Or Spanish, if you're like a crappy TV show character.
the Lario. All right, well, let's jump into some news. I'm gonna start because this is gonna springboard into probably a little bit longer conversation than just a regular headline. But there was a trailer that dropped this week that I could not believe, not just my eyes, but also my ears. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I don't know what the deal is about, I think we're going to get a lot of Pooh films now after we talked about a few weeks ago how Pooh has entered Winnie the Pooh has entered public domain again. But, it's funny how, a decade goes by, and then everybody thinks they need to make Snow White, or they think they need to make Pinocchio or Peter Pan.
Who's that one Italian guy that's made, or the European dude that's made Pinocchio like several times? He cast himself as Pinocchio when he was like 40-something, and it was super weird. And
so
just like
bad.
last year, the year before, his newest version of Pinocchio came out, but he was like Geppetto and directed instead of trying to be Pinocchio.
There's so many. I actually looked up just before we got on the show how many film adaptations of Pinocchio there have been, and there are a lot. There was a 2019 one, there was a 2012 one, a 2002 one. There was now there's three. Count them up. 3 Pinocchio films coming out in 2022. What the? So
it's like the year all those Jungle Book movies came out.
I know, all at the same time. Well, we've got the Tom Hanks led Pinocchio movie that I think Netflix is behind, or not Netflix, but Disney.
Tell me
behind.
He's doing the voice, and it's like Woody, but Pinocchio.
I think he's Geppetto in this one. But then you've got the Netflix-led Guillermo del Toro stop-motion animation Pinocchio. It actually that sounds pretty cool. I listened to an interview with him with Terry Gross the other day on NPR, and that sounds pretty good. But I saw a trailer today for a new Pinocchio that is coming out that, I kid you not, is from Lionsgate, starring the voice of Pauly Shore. And yeah, Lionsgate is producing a Pinocchio, the true story. And it's going to be bad every time they go to an old sort of fairy tale and they go, you thought you knew the real story of Pinocchio. And then it's like, hey, buddy, like what the, I can't. And the thing is I really like Pauly Shore, but there is something about this trailer that is incredibly off-putting and disturbing to me. That it is not good. Like, let me see if I can get some audio here.
Pinocchio does like the.
There you go. Now, what should we name you? Maybe Leonardo. No, he'd grow up to be a turtle who only cares about pizza.
Woof.
I don't believe my
You gotta
eyes.
hear this, though.
Your name will be Pinocchio.
Is that Tom Kenny?
No.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own? I've got the whole world to see.
You are too special, Pinocchio. The world is full of people who could harm you.
The
You
timeless
sure that's
story.
not Tom Kenny doing that voice?
I promise you, it's it's just so bad.
Come on!
You thought you knew.
The coach is headed for the cliff. She's gonna fall.
Oh God, it's what the hell is even happening here? It's Pauly Shore, man. It's Pauly Shore, and some sort of movie that seemed like it was a Shrek response that never got made and got shelved for like 20 years.
Yeah, back when they did like Hoodwinked and all of those kinds of movies.
I don't know. 86 over there on YouTube, you should check out his channel. But 86 asked, didn't Shore come from money? Yes and no. His mother and father actually owned the Laugh Factory, which was a very famous comedy club in L.A., and he grew up kind of a stage rat working at this comedy club, so all these big famous comedians knew who he was. So he wasn't exactly super wealthy, but he was very well connected in the comedy world. So kind of like the Kato Kalin, where he knew all these celebrity stars, but he was just kind of a couch surfer that lived at OJ's house. Like, Pauly Shore was just this dude that was always around. He was like the kid amongst all the grown-ups at the I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was the Laugh Factory. But somebody would have to fact check me on that one. But since we do this live and this is not an edited show, I can't like correct it and put a thing up there. But it's a comedy club, a famous comedy club.
So that movie also has Napoleon Dynamite, and it is Tom Kenny as Geppetto.
It is Tom Kenny?
Yep.
Oh my God. It didn't sound like Tom Kenny at all.
Yep, it did. It sounded exactly like him, which is I was like,
Geppetto!
That's Tom Kenny.
Yeah, Tom Kenny. I prefer Tom Kenny in his Mr. Show era, which was always really fun.
Oh, no way. He's the best as mayor of Powerpuff Girls, man.
No, Mr. Show with Bob and David was pretty amazing. Comedy Store. Okay, thank you, Vince. I knew it was a comedy club, but just the Laugh Factory is the first one that popped in my mind. But anyway, yeah, he's been around. But Vince says his voice makes me want to claw my skin off, LOL. And, as
I'll totally watch this movie.
A 54-year-old, like, washed-up comedian stoner who's playing the voice of an adolescent wooden boy seems just so bizarre. And I don't know how this happened, but I'm glad it did, maybe?
Whenever they go to the island that turns the kids into the donkeys or whatever, I just want them to have to, like, wheeze the juice and, like...
Oh, my God. Hearing Pauly Shore, like, go, ha, hee, has got to be like, it's going to be so rewarding. Yeah, but it's not the story we thought we knew.
That's true.
Comes the real story where Geppetto makes a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles joke. Oh, God. Yeah, so that's a thing that's happening. Also, speaking of unnecessary sequels, that you if you've been watching or listening to the show for any length of time, you'll know that there is a rule of thumb that I share with you guys about how to predict what movies we're going to get, and everybody's like, oh, well, there's not enough this represented or blank represented, and how do we change it? We gotta cancel somebody. And it's like, no, you just have to go spend money on the things that you want to see more of. That's it. That's literally all you got to do. Just go buy a ticket and tell your friends, and don't wait for it to come on Netflix. Just go to the theater and go, I'd like to see this, please. And they'll go, God, look at all these people that went to see this. Let's make all of that forever. And Scream 4 in theaters right now just crossed the 100 million domestic mark, which is pretty good considering that movie didn't cost anything to make. And yeah, it is supposed to be the final chapter in the Scream franchise or whatever it is. It's Scream 4, Scream 5, whatever the hell Scream it is, because they just called it The Scream or whatever, just Scream. It's been greenlit for another sequel because money. They're like, we'll figure out how to plotline this, but we've got money to do it, so let's make another one. We killed Dewey. We still got 2 fairly out of work leading ladies that survived this one. And
what? No, spoiler, no.
What do you mean? They survived. How is that a spoiler?
Yeah, but you just said that they killed off David Arquette.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's been all over the news. Where have you been? Oh, that's right.
I've been sleeping and trying to heal and taking care of somebody. Yeah, I've been doing all the things that happen after.
And not watching Scream. But we're going to get another one because you gave it money, and that's just how it works. You give it money, and we see more of it. Just that time and time and time again. The end. More Scream. I mean, they gave it an MTV show for a while there. Remember that? Remember, guys? You remember Scream MTV? Had nothing to do with the movie series. Remember that?
Remember they had that Scream Queens show or whatever.
That was a different thing. That wasn't like Ghostface. Yeah, let's see. What else was in the movie news? Oh, this is also something that always drives me nuts, but I thought I'd talk about it, is how like we have progressed as a society where our teasers get release dates now, where it's like you used to be like,
there's trailers for trailers.
Yeah.
And then I was watching something the other day. It was like, watch the trailer now, but there was an ad. It's like, I'm literally watching an ad. Why am I watching commercials?
In a commercial.
Yeah.
Like there's something wrong with us that we have allowed it to get to this point where, the of the rings, the rings of the Lord of the Rings, it's the rings of power is what this one's called. And everybody's been wanting to know what's going on, and they're like, this Super Bowl Sunday, check out this trailer for a teaser with, just the music and font, but then in Elvish it like says Super Bowl Sunday or whatever. And if you're a big enough nerd, you can like decipher it or just keep scrolling down in the comments where some big enough nerd already did it for you. And I mean, yeah, and then and all it is, we're not getting the show. We're getting another 30 seconds. It's like,
yeah, but it's gonna be so sick to see, though. Like, come on,
we're gonna see we're gonna see a Shire tree and a round door.
No, this has nothing to do with the Shire. This is all people that have
elven waterfall.
Yes, we're gonna see
4K.
No, man, we're gonna get to see some like Eldar do.
We're not gonna
cool
see
things.
shit. It's gonna be 30 seconds of just like and then that's it.
Yeah, but it's gonna have like Butthole Man forging the rings. And
it's gonna show a hammer. It's not gonna show any characters. It's not.
I don't know,
dude. It's.
I get hyped on Lord of the Rings, guy. So
it's true. I know. We all know you get hyped on Lord of the Rings.
See some Balrogs, people fighting Balrogs.
Oh, speaking of Lord of the Rings, one request that we had last week from the viewers, they were like, if you weren't going to be here, they wanted to see like a little tour of some of the stuff.
Sorry that I ruined
No. I figured this would be a good chance to, show one of the things off of the back, of our set. This is the mint in box NES Lord of the Rings or Super NES Volume 1. They never really made a Volume 2. It was compatible with the Super NES mouse and the multiplayer adapter. It's like, I mean, I don't want to do like a full unbox. I mean, I guess I'm gonna, but like, check it out. Like, I was a weird kid, and I was like, better keep this manual.
Well, yeah, because way back when the video game manuals told you the story and the characters.
Video game manuals were ruled back.
There was they would give you character backgrounds that you wouldn't get because in some of the Street Fighter games, you would get character backgrounds, so you knew why they were involved in Street Fighter instead of just being like, oh, this dude like Hadoukens,
Backstory.
Yeah, and you could learn that the move is called Tatsumaki Senpyukaku instead of Senpai
Bukake? What?
No, Senpyukaku.
It's close enough, my
Tatsumaki
guy.
Senpyukaku. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Senpai Bukake.
No.
I like it better.
Well, that's a personal opinion.
Senpai Bukake.
No. No, that's on. There's a line between the table.
Google it. Oh,
don't Google that.
Vince coming in hard with one of the new
emote.
there over on Twitch. Yeah, nice usage there, Vince.
It's not about the instructions, Sam. It's about the story and the background. You know why the Battletoads are kicking people with big stinky feet and having anvil hammer hands.
You learn. That's where you learn. But
oh, dude, the Home Improvement SNES game. I used to play that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. It was one of those.
That was good.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's weird that we're having trailers, and like that's just, I don't know, that's a thing that continues to exist. Other things that continue to exist somehow, Smurfs, Paramount and Nickelodeon are teaming up and doing a whole bunch of Smurf franchising things. They're wanting to do another Lady Smurf series and rebooting Smurfs Lost Village, and then doing a broad expansion of Smurf content in both film and TV, which disturbs the ever-living crap out of me because who asked for this? And this is something that we're going to get to when we talk about the movies that are in theaters right now, when we review Jackass, but we are coming to a point where it's only more and more evident that something has to have a pre-existing property for us to get out into the theaters, and that's troublesome in more ways than one, because it means we're going to get unnecessary Scream sequels and Smurf franchises and a 19th or 23rd Pinocchio film. But it's not the story you remember. Whatever, dude. But it's our fault. Yeah. All right.
Well, hey, you know what else happened? today it was announced that the Chinese streaming service Tencent will they undid their editing of Fight Club on their streaming service, because Chinese movies are notoriously censored and have a lot of things taken out of them. Jackie Chan has interviews where he's like, you can't see blood in Chinese movies. Like, they just don't allow for that kind of thing there. But they had taken 12 minutes of the movie out, which was the entire ending and the sex scene. They still have not put the sex scene back in, but they restored the ending, because initially they had cut the last 11 minutes of the movie out and just put on a black screen with subtitles that said, then they were all caught by police and the bombs did not go off. The end. Like, society won. But now they've restored the ending where that's not the case. And instead they watch all the banks blow up and they're like, yeah, screw everybody. And he like shoots himself and kills Brad Pitt. And...
there was a time in my life where I won't go into details, but I spent a lot of time around a lot of very fundamental Christians. And, one of the most fascinating things is like, and this is the thing that I discovered while being kind of an insurgent in this weird, strange lifestyle choice that these people lead. But someone had mentioned like Christopher Nolan's Batman, and I was like, what? How the living crap did you, or how the heckin' frick did you guys watch Batman? And they're like, oh yeah, there's this company and it's called Clean Flicks, and it was like founded in like 2001 or something, a Utah-based company, of course, do the math, and they would rent and sell commercially released like box office movies that have been edited down for Christians. And so you could, or like Sam says, like VidAngel, but yeah, it would edit out all the cuss words, edit out all the nudie scenes, edit out all the violence, edit out all the everything. And I could only imagine some of these movies being like 10 minutes long. It's like, I am Batman, and then it's like credits, and you're like, what? How on earth do these companies even exist without, I guess, making all kinds of behind the shadows deals with movie studios? But what a weird subculture, like editing movies to cut out all the good stuff. And speaking of the good stuff, there was an interview with Steven Soderbergh. I don't know, we talk about him every now and again on the show, but Steven Soderbergh went on record today. Someone was asking him about, because he's a pretty well-known actor, actor also, but mainly director. But he's coming out with another Magic Mike movie pretty soon, which seems completely unnecessary. But they were like, oh well, would you ever do a Marvel movie? And he's like, hell no. And they're like, why is that? And he goes, because nobody's fucking. And they're like, whoa, why's it always got to be about sex? And he goes, dude, he's like, a director has to create characters in the world of which they exist. And for whatever reason, you've created a world where sex doesn't exist. And that just doesn't compute in my mind. And I don't think I can tell stories inside that world. And it's like, all right, dude, way to take like an interesting... artistic look into the cold void bullshit that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know what I mean?
Disney.
Disney.
Well, hey, talking Disney too. It was announced that Catherine Zeta-Jones has been cast in the National Treasure series that they're doing for Disney Plus. That's about like a group of teenager immigrants that are on a quest to find a Pan-American treasure. And she's going to be like the antagonist who's also trying to get the treasure for her own personal reasons.
How could they not land Nicolas Cage?
Well, they're making it about like kids or whatever, I guess is what it sounds like, because it says a young dreamer, all capital dream, like political stuff.
We didn't watch National Treasure because... John Voight was so riveting. We watched National Treasure because Nicolas effing Cage.
But it had sick villains. You had Sean Bean as the bad guy in the first one, and Ed Harris as the bad guy, ? In the second one, because he like redeems himself.
Ed Harris is always somehow the bad guy or the good guy you can't ever trust.
Yeah. But
it's like his forehead goes all the way to the back of his head, and I don't like it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can do it without Benjamin Franklin, whatever his name was in those movies, for sure. I mean, Nick Cage is kind of like the National Treasure guy.
He is a national
It's
treasure.
the Declaration of Independence. Yeah.
I mean, yes. He's you just hold the Constitution up to the candles, and you get it. 86 says, I want Con Air Nick Cage in this one, and if Nick Cage isn't back in this show, then I'm going to lose it all
Con
caps.
Air Nick Cage with his hair blowing in the wind. Put the bunny down. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's necessary, and I don't want to see
Cameron Poe. That was his name.
Cameron Poe.
Yeah. My buddy needs his medicine.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
We love you.
How about that? Yep. So National Treasure series hitting Disney Plus. There was also a thing about a new Star Wars series, like Star Wars Andor. It's like one of the characters from the what was the movie where they told how the Death Star plans happened?
Rogue One.
Yeah. It's like a Rogue One character that's going to have a series about him, even though he's dead. So like prequel series. And apparently the lead actor was like, well, there's already a season 2, you guys. It's already been signed on. It's predetermined. So that's a thing making its rounds.
Because Disney Plus is desperately running out of content.
Well, speaking about things that suck,
Disney Plus.
the Razzies announced all their nominations.
Could they just nominate Disney Plus?
Well, Netflix hit high on the list. Like the top 2 most nominated things were both Netflix movies.
You can't do that, Razzies. You cannot do that. If you're nominating worst, it has to be theatrical released movies.
Well, no. I mean, the worst movies nominations are Diana the Musical, which is a Netflix thing.
Cannot do that.
Infinite, which I think was the Paramount Plus deal. Karen, Space Jam: A New Legacy, which is from HBO.
Yeah, well.
And The Woman in the Window, which is also Netflix. So most of them are from streaming services. They also created an entire category just for Bruce Willis, because he was in 9 movies.
And they were all trash fires.
Yeah, and they're like, the category is called, where is it? I wrote it down.
So the Razzies are basically doing what Drive-In Speaker Box used to do about 5 years ago.
Well, it was like worst performance by Bruce Willis in 2021. And it's like an entire category just about which movie of Bruce Willis has sucked the most this last year.
They're all so bad.
They also have a worst remake, ripoff, or sequel category. So LeBron James got a couple nominations. Bruce Willis got a bunch. So all that's coming up in March. So next month is when they'll, on the 26th is when they'll do the Razzies. I think it seems more fun that way, where they're like, hey, this stuff sucks. Look at it. Instead of going through like just theatrical releases, because there is so much
there's
entertainment.
so much out there that sucks. Like that's the thing, is it's too much. You can't. Like, and then there are stuff that is just so unbelievably bad. Like you where do you draw the line on just, I mean, there's stuff out there that they're probably going to nominate that us normies would never be able to see. And they're like, yeah, it's so bad. And I'm like,
well, they have things like they have Jared Leto as worst supporting actor in House of Gucci, but he's also up for like an Academy Award or whatever for the same role. There's a couple of those
Jared
things that
Legos
are like crossovers like that,
Oh man, well the
Which
Razzies.
with all the Nicolas Cage movies, I don't see how he wasn't put up, but I think they're just like, man, it's Nick Cage.
It is Nick Cage.
Let him do his thing. Like
he's untouchable at this point. He's earned it.
It like Pig and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and there's like that weird Japanese Western dream thing where he has his nuts blown off by the explosives in his Gaunt's suit, and
what is something, a Ghostland?
Strangers in Ghostland or whatever it was. I watched it. It was wacky. I think I reviewed it on the show.
Yeah, it was awesome. Let's see. Let's talk about movies that are coming out in theaters this week, because it is that time of the program. Let's move along here. There are a lot of movies getting release dates this week. Not all of them we're going to talk about, because not all of them are all wide release, but probably the ones that you're going to get in theaters near you is the new movie with Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson called Marry Me.
J-Lo in another rom-com marriage thing.
About herself. It's like music superstar J-Lo is getting married before a global audience. And then J-Lo learns seconds before her vows that her husband has been unfaithful, and she decides to marry a complete fucking stranger named Owen Wilson, who's holding a sign in the audience. And somehow this really works out. And yeah, it's called Marry Me, Owen Wilson, Jennifer Lopez. Like, what are we doing? I don't know, but I think I like it. And yeah, it just looks so terrible. Elisa says it looks awful, but I'm gonna unironically love it. I mean, because that's how romantic comedies work. I just don't understand. Like, it's made in Manhattan all over again, where it's just reversed, where she's like, I'm just cleaning the rugs, sir, and he's like, well, why don't we get married, baby? And it works out. It's just it's the Prince and the Pauper story. Like go back and read, what is that, a Renaissance novel? Go back and read Prince and the Pauper. When the hell was that written? Like the 1800s? I had to read it in high school, and very much the story of my life. Like, I was friends with a lot of like rich people that were ashamed of being my friend, and yeah, except for I wasn't like a twin or whatever. I think that's how the Prince and the Pauper goes. They were twins separated at birth. It's been a long time since I've read that, but
watch the Muppet version.
Oh yeah, it's so much better.
Or the Disney one.
But Marry Me, you know, J-Lo doing whatever, and Owen Wilson, 1881. I knew it was the 1800s. See, I know stuff.
You said Renaissance.
Well, but then I corrected myself and said 1800s. Isn't that the Renaissance? No. Hey, it's 2022. Everything is the Renaissance.
That was before my time.
That was before my time, dude. I didn't even know. God, give me the program. Was it a different century? But Owen Wilson, Owen Wilson in romantic comedies always cracks me up because he never strikes me as like a romantic comedy type, but he's in a lot of them with the big old, the dick nose that he has. Wow. And wow, indeed. Wow. Hey, J-Lo's like, let's get married. Wow. I don't know, J-Lo. Wow. But it's coming out in theaters. Another movie coming out in theaters, somewhat more limited release, called Blacklight with Liam Neeson. And that's it. And guess what? Travis Block is a government operative coming to terms with his shadowy past. When he discovers a plot targeting U.S. citizens, he finds himself in the crosshairs of FBI director he once helped protect. Sounds like Liam Neeson with a set of skills, using them against the people that he once trusted before, but are now out to get him, all over again for the 75th time on his 75th birthday. Like...
Sounds sick to me.
I know you love your Liam Neeson.
Yeah, have you ever seen Kroll?
That was like wasn't that in the 1800s when the Kroll was made? I'm pretty sure that was a Renaissance movie. Let's see, catching up on at least as the Barbie franchise does an excellent version of Prince and the Pauper, where it's like where Ken rolls up in like
Ken
a not fancy Jeep. Yeah,
not fancy Jeep.
It's like, your Jeep is not from Malibu. Oh God, are you from Reseda? And yeah, that sounds awesome. Vince says he's in a hotel room with a black light. Ooh, that's a tip that you.
No, I'm saying that's what the movie would be.
Nobody.
Particular set of skills, and then he looks it over with the black light.
There's semen all over his, duvet. The funny. Do you guys want to hear a funny hotel room story from a hotel room I stayed in on a film shoot? Anybody want to hear this?
Doesn't matter if they do or not.
I saw him and his brother Wes Anderson student film, and Owen sounds the same as he did then. He's wow. I mean, he's got this nasally cadence, and it's weird. But no, quick hotel room. Quick hotel room stories, bedroom confessions from the boom operator. I was working on this film, and we were staying in Podunk, BFE, nowhere, Oklahoma, right? And we were staying at the King's Inn, and there was actually not Oklahoma, this is Arkansas. What am I talking about? This was an Arkansas movie, and we were staying at the King's.
Let it stay Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, we'll keep it out of Arkansas, and I was staying, you generally have to roommate with crews on low budget films, and I was roommating with this guy. We had the two twin beds or whatever, and that was like next to last day of shooting, not quite last day of shooting, but you know how you do the check where you're like, oh, I'm dumb. What we call in the biz, you call it a dummy check, and you dummy check every set to see if you didn't leave a cord or an adapter or something like this. But you dummy check your hotel room and make sure you didn't leave anything, right? So I'm dummy checking the hotel room, even though we still got another day, and I look under the bed. And I see a shoe, and I was like, oh, God, how did that get there? And I reach in, and I grab it, and I pull it out, and it's like a size 13 men's, like, which is very large, hot pink pump.
13's a big shoe.
Well, I'm not 6'9", asshole, but it's like a size 13 hot pink stiletto pump. Right? It's huge, and there's only one. And the crazy thing is we were trying to think of the scenarios of which this would have gotten left, you know, and that became like a running like theory on set of like, okay, what happened? You know, what was there a situation where somebody discovered something that they weren't quite prepared for, or the cops were coming because something illegal was happening, and they had to get out of there quick, but they left this sort of hooker Cinderella like slipper behind, and
should have started going around town and
seeing who it was. Yeah, it was really weird, and I kept that shoe for probably 9 years, and it was just like a really funny set trophy. But yeah, we never knew because it was enormous. It was so big, like wow.
So Vince says he wears size 15, up and comer.
Well, Night Owl actually says definitely late to a drag show. But if you had been to the community of where we were filming this, like the biggest grocery store in a 40-mile radius was a Dollar General. Like, yeah, I don't think there was a big drag show scene. No one was doing drag brunches at the Piggly Wiggly in, Butt Sniff, Arkansas.
Maybe it was like Footloose, and they were having all their like dances and party time in a barn and not telling anybody about it.
Must have been. But Blacklight coming out in theaters this week. And also probably the one that I'm going to go see this week, because I am actually looking forward to this, is sequel to The Murder on the Orient Express, finally coming out. Director Kenneth Branagh bringing the sequel, Death on the Nile. Haven't seen a lot of advertising behind this movie. I honestly didn't even know it was coming out this weekend until
I didn't know it was coming out this week, but I've been seeing trailers for it recently.
And it's coming out, and Hercule Poirot investigating the murder of a young heiress, on a vacation on the Nile. It's got Annette Bening, Russell Brand somehow getting a role here, Tom Bateman, Kenneth Branagh, of course, playing the lead role.
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot, of course, in this as well. Everybody loves Gal Gadot. But I'm looking forward. I love detective noirs. I like this, the original films. I never really read the books, but I was a little before my time. But
books before my time.
What are books? You remember the YouTube video, the Books for Christmas Kid? That was like an old YouTube where he like gets so mad at his parents. He's like, "Books for Christmas?" And he's like throwing shit, and he's like, "Who are these for?" And he's like pointing at other presents because he wants them. He says shoe belonged to Wesley Snipes, probably. Tu Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Night Owl, so you mentioned the Nile, and now I'm wondering about a remake of Romancing the Stone. I don't think that movie needs a remake. Check out Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, and then
maybe watch Romancing the Stone, skip Jewel of the Nile.
And if you want in the same universe but different, check out War of the Roses. Like, that's a really good movie. That's a Valentine's Day movie. That's a boom operator pick right there, because I am very sour when it comes to Valentine's because I'm often single, and it's just a stupid holiday anyway. But yeah, War of the Roses. That's. I mean, by the end of it, it's not a happy film, but it's a good film, and it has the same cast. Danny DeVito's there, and the rest. So there you go. Kathleen Turner.
That's your big billing there. It's like Danny DeVito.
He's the best part.
And the other main characters.
Yeah, Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas, whatever. Yeah. Those other people, those other actors that were in movies at some point. But Night Owl, she says they've seen all of them. Check mark. Boink. Yeah, they're all good. Let's see. That's what's coming out in theaters this week. Death on the Nile, definitely one I want to go check out. I'm sure if there's a way for this guy to go see Blacklight, he's going to be in there with pumps on and super excited.
No.
You can check it out. All right. Well, it's that time of the show where let's talk about movies that we saw. Well, let's talk about Jackass, you guys. Jackass Forever. This movie has been, 20 years in the making? Literally 20 years since the first Jackass movie that came out in 2002. Interesting thing about this, opened up this week at the box office #1, meaning every single Jackass movie that has ever been in theaters has opened at #1, which is kind of impressive. Opened with over 23 million at the box office. And this movie, I'll let you start. Just jump right on in. Just get in there.
How do you even?
I'm gonna finish my cup of gin, and then I'm gonna jump in with you.
I mean, you already kind of told it earlier, man. You're sitting in the theater, ready to see like the opening welcome to Jackass nonsense they do, and it sets the tone for the whole rest of the 90 minutes that you're gonna sit through, which is just nothing but Dick and balls on the big screen.
Dick and balls. It was so. Lisa says it sounds like it was going to be sad to see, and it.
No.
Actually, okay. Here's the thing about Jackass. Here's my takeaway from this movie is that and I'm going to take it past like the how funny it is to see somebody get hit in the balls, because that is a timeless prank. Watching someone get racked, it makes us laugh. Like, they've been doing it since vaudevillian times. I'm pretty sure there's Buster Keaton clips where he's like, and gets hit in the nuts, and it's like, oh, and a white card comes up, and it goes, whatever they called him. He was like, me walnuts or something. I don't know what they called him back then, but Jackass, when you peel all of the physical comedy and just sort of potty humor away from it, it kind of boils down to laughing is fun, and it's good, and it's communal, and there are certain things that you can't not laugh at. I want to say the original review to Jackass the movie from Roger Ebert, and this is a guy who hates a lot of stuff, and he hates toilet humor, and he goes, I would be a liar to write a review saying that I didn't laugh until I was hoarse while watching this. Does it make it a fantastic film? No. Is it great cinema? No. But it is a comedy of comedies that sort of transcends genre. And, for multiple reasons. Number one, it's very honest. It's about friendship. It's about people that you spent your life with. It's about getting older and passing the torch without being written to be like that. And it's also something that you don't see anymore, because you don't get to see stunts anymore in a time where stunts are pretty much illegal by most production companies because insurance is too big, and they don't want to get sued, and then people what's his name is just shooting people all over the set and killing them. Alec Baldwin is just murdering people on set. But stunts are dangerous, and I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of the stunts you see are not real stunts. They're all CGI. It's all like in a cushy mattress covered room with CGI and green screen, and you're like, oh, look, I'm flying, and then this is like, get in this cannon, we're gonna shoot you 100 feet in the air, hope you don't break your neck. And they're like, well, I signed a waiver, and that's on us. And there's something, to use a weird word in 2022, because it's been the definition, it's pure.
Well, Sam said it's about family, and it is, and it's about your friends and adopted family, and also not trusting them.
You should never. I cannot even imagine what it would be like to be on the set, because the movie never stops, and
you're never safe.
You're never safe, and there's always a hidden camera. There's always something to be on your guard of, and it's dark comedy. And another thing, and this is something that Sam said, going back in the comments, this movie is weird because you can't ever turn it off. And in a time where people are going, there's a disparity between female and male nudity in cinema. And it's like, oh, God, there's a whole dissertation I could write about, like, how that's kind of bullshit, because there's just as much, objectification of the male figure as there is the female figure, but it's just in different ways. This turns it completely on its head, and it's like, you want dicks? All right, well, here is 90 minutes of penis. Like, big ones, small ones, huge ones, like flat ones, stretched ones, bruised ones, burned ones, poisoned ones, bit ones, honey-covered ones, bee-covered ones. Like, you get all the dicks. It is like green eggs and pepperoni. Like, it is just sausage fest. And is it sexy? No, not at all. There's nothing sexy about this nudity. Vince says, I heard PETA was upset with this movie. It warranted or making too much of it. Making too much of it. There was parts where they're like, hey, you can't, can't hurt the bees, can't hurt the vulture. They were very adamant about it.
I think the bees part was the only part where any of them may have gotten hurt, especially considering if they sting you
because they swat. I think
die.
They were like swatting.
Well,
I guess if a bee stings you, it does. Its tail comes off, and then
and then
fucking PETA.
Wee Man flinched and flexed and like, don't kick the friggin' bird, dude. And he's like, I
didn't kick the bird.
Yeah, like, I didn't. Yeah, but other than that, everything else was.
In context, Wee Man did have his weekini stuffed with raw meat while he was drawn and quartered in a dusty landscape, and a vulture was pecking raw meat out of his pecker area, and he didn't kick the bird. So it is a weird film where the original cast gets together, the original director, a lot of the cameramans. Elisa says this sounds like a fever dream. It kind of is like a fever dream, but you cannot stop laughing. This is something that these guys have managed to do that other people in their place can't. And there's, I don't want to say, well, I'm gonna say something magical about this sort of assembly of goobers, literally and figuratively, that you just can't. It's like, watching other people have a good time is infectious. Like watching other people laugh, or like listening to, John and the Wild Man on 94.4 in the morning, and like most of it's just them laughing, but people are like, oh, I love that show because they're having such a good time. It's like people love that, and there's such a genuine love that you see between these idiots that are just still doing the same shit. Granted, most of the punishment goes towards Danger Aaron because maybe he's the only one in enough shape to kind of handle this shit. But Spike Jonze is there, and the original directors. You got Dave England, who looks really bad for being what was he, a snowboarder?
He takes a lot of abuse in the movie.
He does. Steve-O took some big hits. They poured one out for old Ryan Dunn, who was always my favorite. Danger Aaron. They had, and then Johnny Knoxville got brain damage, and they showed him getting carted off to the hospital. Lisa says, imagine explaining this to an alien species visiting Earth. Well, I don't know. From everything I've heard, the alien species, when they visit Earth, they come shove stuff up our butts anyway. So, I mean, they'd probably be like, oh, yeah, these are our kind of people. And, like, and, yeah, it was weird. The one thing that I didn't like, though, is, like, the forcible sort of trying to introduce a new crop of, although the one fat guy with all the tattoos, like, I don't know if you know about him, but he was a YouTube guy that was like he loved Jackass so much and would do stunts on YouTube similar to Jackass. He had a channel where he'd do it, and he's like, yeah, and he got a Jackass tattoo on his chest, and he's like, I love these guys, this is what I want to do, this is my thing, and they included him, and they're like, well, good on you, man, and welcome to the club, and you could just see it on his face. He's just like, oh my God, I'm a man amongst gods, the whole time. And he's just like, yeah, put a scorpion on my nipple, dude, do it. And I'll jump into that cactus, no problem. And it's weird. It's weird to watch. And I was sitting there next to my mother while all of this very cock-heavy comedy just is in your face quite literally. And it was a bonding moment.
She had a better time than anybody.
Oh, she was all into it. But Vince says, I don't remember which Jackass it was, but the boxing glove doorbell was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's so dumb.
Yeah, I wish they would have done more stuff like that. There's very few just like pranks or stupid stunts. In this one, it's more shock factor.
Well, I think they had to up the
humor
ante,
stuff. Well, or do things like that are more able for them to do
physically at their age, without getting broken bones and neck injuries and stuff like that. It was like scorpions and bees and snakes and things like that. That doesn't require a giant pneumatic hammer knocking them 15 feet in the air. Although that does happen.
Yeah, they do screw with each other quite a bit, but
all in all, it's a pretty good time.
It's still Jackass. They're still doing the same thing. It was fun. It was
a fun movie, and if you watch any fail videos. And so Elisa brings up a good point. It says now they're competing with internet prank videos. Stuff is overdone now, and that's very true. Because these guys invented this. Not necessarily everybody was pranking everybody, but they pointed cameras at it and they turned it into a brand. And essentially, everything that we consume on the internet, where it's like prank and fail, kind of goes back to Jackass, because this stuff started in the 90s. And we've been emulating it ever since, but how do you top it? And it's not being topped with pranks. It's being topped with the fact that these guys, there is a chemistry between them that is so addictive and hilarious to watch. And then they just goof, and then they just goof, and they're just fun to watch. So they're just fun to watch. So anyway, Jackass forever. It's in theaters. I don't think we're gonna get a sequel to it because they're too old, and I don't think they want to do another one.
And that's why this one's forever. It's like, hey, here it is. That's the end of it.
Yeah. But so good on them. They've had a good run. But yeah, one other thing we want to talk about while we still got another 10 or 12 minutes left in the show is the new Reacher series. Did you finish it?
Jack Reacher. I'm on like the 5th episode.
I've got 2 more episodes left.
We got Jackass and Jack Reacher and Ass Reacher.
There's just a lot of jacking.
Yeah.
This it's close to Valentine's. What do you expect?
But yeah, no, I've been watching it. I'm on like the 5th or 6th episode, I think. I like it, man. It's been good. I like Alan Ritchson. He's great in Blue Mountain State and as Arthur
Titans?
Curry in Smallville. He's good in Titans, and another Smallville actor is present, and Kristen Crook, who was Lana Lang from Smallville. But so far, it's really good. So, and you have like a Jack Reacher-sized Jack Reacher instead of Tom Cruise. The first Jack Reacher is cool. We like that movie. It's a good movie.
It is a good...
And it has your boy Werner Herzog in it. Just being a creep. The can't go back, whatever, not good. But this one starts with the very first Jack Reacher novel. And so it's taking the first Jack Reacher story and turning it into something, because the movies were based on like the 9th and 16th books or something.
Yeah, he's already been kind of established as what he is.
Yeah, and this is like the the first one.
The thing about Jack Reacher, and why I'm really kind of fascinated, the fact that we're kind of, companies like Amazon are going, hey, here's a character, because Jack Reacher is like machismo pulp action incarnate. He's a big, somewhat autistic, emotionally vacant giant that's like incredibly good at his job and solves most things with little words and a lot of punching, and which is very not woke by today's standards. But there's something so trashy and actiony about it.
But his whole thing is that he's like wholesome good guy, because he's like...
That's what makes it good.
Don't be mean to that dog. Smack. don't be racist. Smack. Hey, don't be mean to that woman. Smack. Yeah,
like that's what kind of makes Jack Reacher cool. Is like, you know, you go back to like the pulp era, you know, machismo guys, where it's like always rescuing the damsel, having a martini, smoking a cigarette, smacking a tight, round, plump booty, and then, you know, shooting a gun at a bad guy. Like, Jack Reacher does all of those things, except for he also respects women and
animals
and
people in general.
And he's just like, and that's what kind of makes him an interesting character, because the movies, I mean, like, the books are kind of trash. They're not well written, but it's just like, this is a good dude that does good things, and he's like this unstoppable force, but every time he tries to do good things, it only screws things up even more. And
I feel that.
You know,
yeah, you try and be the best you can and do all the right things,
and
the
the
good
world
things.
is like,
no,
nah, dude, you should have shut up. You should have lied. You should have taken the bribe. You should have, you know, and that's what kind of makes this character interesting, is because it's kind of an experiment in what is it like if you always do the right thing, and granted, have the ability to survive it, but it's just like, this is life gets thrown at this guy for making the right choices, but he's just thick-skinned and talented enough to keep surviving the right decisions, which is terrifying, because the enemy is not like whatever bad guy he's facing. The enemy is just doing the right thing all the time, and that's kind of weird.
No,
and you know, if you want
to
read into the thematics of the story, I mean, when you watch it, of course, it's like immediate. You think it's going to be cheesy one-liners, like, you know, this town ain't big enough for the both of us, kind of Western stare downs, which it is in a certain way. But when you kind of boil it down, it's kind of good. And like you said, Alan Rickman is just fantastic as Reacher, because one of the things that Tom Cruise never brought to the role is the whole thing is he's an intimidating stature. He's a big dude. He's a giant, where he's so big that people are like, what the hell? You're huge. And you know, this you can now actually play on that, because he's a big dude. He's a real big dude.
Sam asked if you have to watch the movies first. Nope. Just
Not
like I said,
at all.
This one takes place, it's based on The Killing Floor, which is the first one. This is the world's first introduction to Jack Reacher from the books, and it can be your first introduction to the character right away. No need
Honestly,
to
I think it's the best introduction to the character.
I don't know. The movie's pretty good.
The movie is pretty good. Logan just said he just got out of Moonfall, the Roland Emmerich film, which we're about to mention here in 2 seconds as we do our box office roundup. But Jack Reacher, it's out there. I'm gonna watch the next 2 episodes.
I'm gonna
probably tomorrow.
I'm gonna keep watching it. I like it. Everything's been good so far, and they're like 45-minute long, hour-long episodes or whatever it is. But it keeps you interested every time, because there's just enough mystery to be like, well, they uncovered that one.
It's
what are you gonna find next?
pretty paint by numbers, Southern corporate. That means Fletch lives / Swamp Thing / it's like
it's the same thing that's kept people interested for.
Southern corporation moves into a small southern town and invests into a dying community, and so.
But it has enough bad guys in it that you're like, well, maybe that's the one. Oh, maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the guy, you know, or it's like the people are like that are good guys. You're like, well, they're too good of a guy, you know? So it's like, I don't know, stuff like that's fun. Yeah.
It's
fun.
And
as soon as it's
like, harmless fun.
Well, this is the bad guy. You're like, I knew it. Because it's like one of your 10 people, the whodunits and stuff.
I think there it is. It is a fun, low investment whodunit.
With good action.
And if you like male nudity, you see a lot of his gigantic Atlas body in this thing. So, you know, you want to talk about disparity of nudity on screen. He's doesn't have his shirt on in most of this, and it's impressive to say the least. Like, I wish I could just walk around with like the big V, like the ab V. You know,
really into
it's in almost every scene. He's like, "Excuse me, I have to change T-shirts for the 17th time this episode."
No, he doesn't change T-shirts. That's the whole thing they talk about in the episode. He has like one outfit. That's why he wears the jacket with the piece of tape over it.
No, he changes a lot.
He takes his shirt off a lot. I don't know if he changes.
No.
He's a hobo. Remember, they make a point to point that out.
Yeah.
See, you're not paying attention to the details. This whole thing about the details. You're
Details
too busy.
matter.
You're distracted by this dude's body that you're super into, and you're not paying attention to the mystery, man.
I can admire another man's body, of which I'll never
Sure.
accomplish, like in my lifetime.
Yeah, you do you, bro.
Anyway, all right. Let's talk about the box office for the weekend of February 4th through 6th.
You're in dancing shape.
Not fighting shape. I don't think I'm in either shape.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Dancing's hard.
Dancing is hard. Box office, number 10. Let's go through it. Number 10, Licorice Pizza bringing in $644,000 in its 11th weekend release, bringing $12 million at the box office. Domestically, number 9, The 355 bringing in $698,000 at the box office. 5 weeks has brought it in $14 million at the box office. Number 8, American Underdog bringing in $780,000 at the box office. In its 7th weekend release, bringing in $25.8 million at the box office. Number 7, Redeeming Love from Universal bringing in $1 million this week. And its 3rd weekend release, bringing in $8 million domestically. Number 6, The King's Man, somehow still out there. It seems like it's been out there for 100 years. It's only been out there for 7. 20th Century Studios, no longer 20th Century Fox. I always forget that. $1.2 million so far, bringing it up to $35.8 million at the box office. Yeah, I think the worldwide box office on Kingsman, I think, is a little bit better. It has brought in $120 million worldwide.
That sounds way under budget.
Yeah, it is because yes, it did not do as well as I think they thought it was going to. Number 5, Sing 2, bringing in $4.2 million in its 7th weekend release from Universal, bringing in $139 million domestically. It's a lot of money. Number 4, Scream, bringing another $4.7 million at the box office this week in its 4th weekend release. So far, $68.9 million, but as you heard me say earlier, it has crossed the $100 million threshold, so it is doing pretty well for a movie that costs like under 10. That's pretty good. Number 3, Spider-Man No Way Home, getting knocked off of the number 1 spot for the first time in almost 6 weeks. Ooh. Bringing in $9.5 million, though. Still a pretty good haul for Spider-Man. 8 weeks in release has brought it in $748 million at the box office.
There's your reason Kingsman made no money right there.
And there's the reason that we're going to see Andrew Garfield Spider-Man like 9 more times. We're going to see Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in the same movie like 8 more times. We're going to see Venom in a Spider-Man movie like 6 more times. We're going to see Tom Holland in a Spider-Man in every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie like 900 more times. We're going to see so much Spider-Man. Like there's going to be more Spider-Man than there were penises in Jackass. There is just going to be a lot.
I'm hoping for that 2099 super cool future Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, you're probably going to get him. You're going to get all the Spider-Man that you could think of ever in the history of Spider-Man. Period. Forever Spider-Man. All the time Spider-Man. It's gonna be like Rick and Morty. The end of season 1, where it's like, oh, forever 100 years, Spider-Man, and you and me, Spider-Man, just forever. Spider-Man forever 100 years, Spider-Man. That's what it's going to be. Number 2, Moonfall, bringing in $9.8 million. Still hitting the number 2 spot, which is kind of weird. From Lionsgate, Roland Emmerich. Not doing too well for a Roland Emmerich film because he is mainly known for big blockbusters. But I think the time of Roland Emmerich is over.
Dude, talking about Rick and Morty, though, and Spider-Man, what if instead of the Council of Ricks, they have like a whole thing of Peter Parkers, and they have like a space station in the Council of Peter Parkers?
I think we're going to get it. Now that you've said it, it's going to manifest. I think that's how this works.
Just remember where that idea came from when y'all start writing checks.
Yeah, copyright, Academy Award-nominated films, sub-copyright, drive-in speaker box. Academy with a K. Films with a Y. Academy Award-nominated films. Films. We're going to make your films, Kenny.
Make your own films, Kenny.
Oh, man. Number 1, of course, Jackass Forever, $23.1 million in the box office from Paramount. Great opening film, giving studios confidence that comedies will still make money. And the Jackass crew still, able to do it. Vince says, have people started going to the movies again? Yes. I mean, not in droves, but for the most part, people
for Spider-Man, they sure as hell did. At the opening of Jackass, as soon as it starts, that's the whole thing. It has Knoxville there, and it says, hey, thanks for coming to the movies and dragging your friends to the movies and actually being here in person. So they're still doing that whole thing where you show up to the movie and they're like, hey, look at you.
Thanks.
You're at the friggin' movies, dude.
Thanks for actually helping us get paid, unlike these giant streaming networks that are criminals and are taking money and renegotiating our contracts because you guys aren't coming to the theater anymore, and they decided to put these things on streaming at the same time. Thanks! That's what they're really saying. That's the meta language there, is these actors are going, please continue to do this because it's important to us, because the streaming services, much like the housing market, are getting totally taken advantage of by the absolute people at the top, and we are letting them. And, if I were to do a worst of 2021 list, like you guys always ask me to do, it'd be Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Plus E Plus, Plus DDD Plus Plus, Discovery Plus, and Doodoo Plus. Like all of the, I actually got really mad. I was going to, it's my mother's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Mom. I know you're not watching.
Yeah.
But I'm trying, chocolate eclairs are like one of her favorite things, right? And so I'm teaming up with my bar manager, Hannah, who is a very accomplished baker, and we were going to make eclairs. But the dough that you make is a special French dough called pot de choux, I think is the name of this dough, and it's how it bakes, and it gives anyway, long story short, I'm a huge fan of Alton Brown, and I remembered, I was like, oh god, he did an episode about pot de choux, and I need to go back and watch this episode. And I had bought like 6 seasons of at $25 a season for Alton Brown on Amazon Prime, right? And I was like, oh yeah, because in the pandemic, I was like, I'm gonna cook, and I'm gonna sit here, and I'm gonna get corpulently fat, but I also want to watch, and I want to eat well. So I went back and I bought every season of Alton Brown, and Alton Brown, Good Eats Reloaded and Good Eats The Return, and I'm just spending hundreds of dollars on Alton Brown, and I go, I'm just gonna go pull up this episode real quick. Guess what? I can only view it if I subscribe to Discovery Plus for $9.99 a month in addition to my Amazon Prime account, because Discovery decided that the things that I own no longer belong to me. And this is what I've been telling you the whole freaking time. You spend your money on digital content that's behind a fucking paywall that AT&T and Amazon and Discovery and all these people think that you're buying, but you don't own it. You own it for like a day, and then it's going to be gone because there's going to be some behind the closed doors negotiation where they're like, fuck them, and they're going to take all your money. You're going to have to pay $25 more to watch it again. Screw that. Get the DVD. Physical media forever. Where's the mic? I'm going to just drop it. Damn it, I was so mad. If you think that was mad, I bushwhacked through my living room. I was so mad. It was, ugh.
I hope that you did that. I hope that you had the bushwhacker camo outfit on, and you were making like the bushwhacker.
Night Owl, she says, I don't understand how that's legal. It's legal because they own
fine print
everything. And every time that it says, you need to update this app, and if you want to have this app updated, do you agree to our updated terms of service? And it's like a 7,000 page PDF, and you're like, yes, click.
Well, then you just can't use it.
You can't use it, and then you agree, and then you are legally bound from suing them. That's how it works, because we're so addicted to the shit that they pump in our veins through these tiny little screens that we can't keep out of our eyeballs. And then it's like, oh yeah, you can buy it, and buying it only is an extended lease, is all it is we're leasing this thing, right? You can rent it, which only means for 2 days, but you can buy it, which in their legalese is a lease agreement as long as they own the property, which they could sell at any time.
And if it's downloaded, like video games and things like that, movies and stuff, if you download it, but it's digital, and you delete it, but they've removed it from their servers or someone else has bought the rights to it, well, now you can never download it again.
Booyah! And this is why physical media has an important place.
That was a big deal with the Scott Pilgrim side-scroller beat-em-up, because it got banned or something. Something happened to it where the copyright fell through and no one could have it. So if you had it downloaded, better not ever delete it. But then as soon as the next-gen console came out, oops, you don't have it. Or if you deleted it, oops, you don't have it. They re-released it here recently, but it's one of those things where if you like it, you got to find a way to keep it.
Well, it says archive.org has a lot of old download content. There's websites out there, like download it and keep an archive. Some stuff is there.
I don't think you can actually download anything from the Wayback Machine, though.
Well, you can view some of the stuff on the Wayback Machine.
You can see it, But if you click the link, half the time it goes, well, that wasn't snapshotted at the time, so you missed it.
But if you have an ability to archive and back up, I mean, a good example, I'm a big pinball guy, for those of you that have never met me. I own 44 pinball machines. And, there was a really cool company. It was called, it was like a pinball app. And you could download tables that they created. And, they're really good emulated virtual, versions of these Williams games and Bally games. But then their license expired, and now pinball got really popular again, and then another company decided they wanted to scoop up those licensing. And I spent over $90-something on DLCs for these pinball tables, and I've got them on one tablet that I'll never update this tablet. I'll never whatever.
I missed out on the Addams Family game because I didn't buy it before. They were like, sorry, gone forever.
Yeah, you better get it. Otherwise, it's gone forever. And I can never reformat that tablet. I can never update that tablet because otherwise the Pinball Arcade is not going to work. And I can never get these games again. So they're stuck on my Samsung Galaxy, of which now I've done nothing to it except for that's my pinball tablet. Thanks, guys. And this is this thing that I tried to warn you guys about, and I've tried to warn you guys about this for the entirety of this program that I've been doing for a long time. We're like, oh, I love being in my sweatpants. Convenience is great. And then, it's so great until they start stealing our money. And something that used to cost us $5 now costs us $105 because we have to buy it 95 freaking times. Breathe. Quaid, give the people DLC content, Quaid.
You have what you want. You got their money. Give these people their downloads.
Give them the downloads. Do it.
Come on, Cohagen. Give these people.
Give these people downloads. Give them the content. Do it.
They already paid you. They own the content. Give them content. That's what we need. We need the Martian,
Yeah, we just stick it in there.
And
then all the content comes rushing into our atmosphere.
Yeah, and then you get all of it, and you're like,
yeah. Anyway,
then your 3 titty DLC comes back.
Anyway, thanks for tuning into the Drive-In Speaker Box, guys. It's been another episode. It's been fun having Jake back. He's back. And, we'll be back next week talking about movies. Probably going to go see the Nile situation and see who done it, even though I already know who done it because I've seen the old one.
Maybe they changed it.
Whoa. Maybe if I get the DLC, you can have more than one ending. I don't know.
Yeah, like the Clue movie. But you have to pay for it.
You got to pay for it. But all right, thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share us. You can subscribe on Twitch for money, which we get to keep, which is kind of cool. You can find all the older episodes on YouTube because they keep an archive. Or you can check us out on Facebook if that's just convenient for you. We do all these things because it's easier for you guys to do it. And if you just don't like looking at our face or participating in the chat, you can download the podcast over on Spotify or wherever you do all that stuff. So tell your friends, sign up, watch a movie, make your own decisions, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. I'm the Boom Operator.
I'm the Grit.
And we will see you guys next week.